Dr. Grant Patrick. The Redheads, Unforgettable Grandpa's Fairy Tales. Chapter 4. The Lord of Shadows Challenge. The return to the village felt triumphant for the Redheads, the elixir of protection safely secured in Roisin's hands. The Redheads moved with purpose, yet there was an undercurrent of tension, a feeling that their journey, far from ending, had only just begun. As they neared the edge of the village, Liam sensed a shift in the atmosphere. The forest, normally alive with birdsong and rustling leaves, was eerily silent. An ominous shadow seemed to hover over the village, stretching across the treetops and darkening the paths ahead. "It's quiet," murmured Neov, glancing around. "Too quiet." The Redheads exchanged wary glances, each one instinctively reaching for their staffs or amulets. Finn, always alert, tightened his grip on his carved oak staff, his eyes scanning the shadows. But before anyone could speak, a thick mist rolled in, blanketing the village square and swallowing up the Redheads in a blanket of grey. "Stay close," called Liam, his voice muffled by the heavy fog. Just as the Redheads huddled together, a figure emerged from the mist, a tall, cloaked stranger with eyes like molten gold. His voice was soft but filled with a sinister edge that cut through the silence like a blade. "Greetings, little forest dwellers," the stranger said, his lips twisting into sneers. "I come bearing a message from the Lord of Shadows." The Redheads stood frozen, every muscle tensed. Liam stepped forward, his eyes narrowing as he studied the figure. "What business does the Lord of Shadows have with us?" The stranger chuckled, a low, mocking sound. "You've been meddling in powers far beyond your understanding. The Lord of Shadows respects courage but despises foolishness. He's offered you a choice: leave the Whispering Woods or face his wrath." Roisin, holding the elixir of protection close, stepped forward with quiet defiance. "We will not abandon our home. This forest is ours to protect, and no darkness will drive us away." The stranger's gaze shifted to Roisin, a flicker of interest in his golden eyes. Bold words for one so small. "But know this, the Lord of Shadows' magic is powerful, more powerful than any trinket or potion you can conjure." "He doesn't know who he's dealing with," said Finn under his breath, eyes fixed on the stranger. The stranger heard him, his lips curling into a grin. "Oh, I know exactly who I'm dealing with. And I know your weaknesses, each and every one of you." As he spoke, the mist thickened, swirling around the Redheads and forming eerie shapes that shifted and changed, reflecting their deepest fears. First, the mist coiled around Sean, forming the image of a great storm, lightning flashing and thunder rumbling. Sean's face paled as he recalled the storm that had once nearly swept away his family's home. "Are you willing to face your fears, little one?" taunted the stranger, his voice dripping with malice. Sean took a deep breath, steeling himself. "Yes. My fear doesn't control me." The mist shifted again, swirling around Tara. It took on the form of a tall, twisted tree with thorny branches reaching out like claws. Tara stiffened, the memory of a childhood accident flashing through her mind, the day she'd gotten lost and nearly trapped beneath the thorned boughs of an ancient tree. "You think you're brave, but you're just a frightened child," sneered the stranger. Tara lifted her chin, her voice steady. "Maybe I am afraid, but bravery is choosing to act despite fear." One by one, the mist confronted each Redhead with a personal fear, testing their resolve. Some faltered, but none turned away, their determination only growing stronger as they stood together. Finally, the stranger's gaze settled on Liam, who met it without flinching. "And you, the leader," he hissed. "Are you willing to bear the burden of your friends' suffering? To watch them fall, one by one?" Liam felt the weight of the stranger's words, his heart heavy with the responsibility he bore for his friends. But he squared his shoulders, meeting the stranger's gaze with unwavering resolve. "If it means protecting my home, then yes. I will face any challenge." The stranger sneered, his golden eyes gleaming with malice. "Very well. The Lord of Shadows extends his challenge to you, Redheads. Survive this night, and perhaps you'll prove yourselves worthy." With a flick of his wrist, the stranger vanished, leaving only the chilling mist in his wake. The Redheads stood in stunned silence, the weight of the encounter settling over them. "Survive the night," whispered Aisling, her voice barely audible. "What does that mean?" "It means the Lord of Shadows is testing us," said Roisin, clutching the elixir of protection. He wants to break our unity, to make us doubt ourselves and each other. Liam nodded, his expression grim. But he underestimates us. We've faced danger before, and we'll face it again. Together. The Redheads gathered in a tight circle, each one drawing strength from the others. With a silent nod, they prepared for the long night ahead. As night fell, the mist thickened, and shadows crept through the trees, shifting and twisting into strange, eerie shapes. The elixir of protection glowed faintly in Roycin's hands, its warmth offering a small comfort against the chill in the air. Suddenly, a faint rustling sounded from the edge of the clearing. The Redheads tensed, weapons at the ready, as dark shapes emerged from the shadows, creatures with glowing eyes and sharp claws, their forms shifting and changing like the mist itself. The creatures attacked with a ferocity the Redheads had never seen. Finn swung his staff, deflecting the claws of a shadowy beast, while Tara conjured a barrier of vines to hold another at bay. Kieran and Cyofra moved together, casting a protective charm that pushed the creatures back. But the creatures kept coming, their numbers seemingly endless. "We need to use the elixir," shouted Roycin, raising the glowing vial. Liam nodded. "Do it. We'll hold them off." Roycin uncorked the vial and poured a few drops onto the ground. Instantly, a radiant light spread from the earth, forming a protective circle around the Redheads. The shadow creatures recoiled, hissing and snarling as the light drove them back. For a moment, it seemed the battle was won. But then, a low, chilling laugh echoed through the clearing, and the mist swirled, coalescing into the dark figure of the Lord of Shadows himself. "Well, well," he said, his voice smooth and mocking. "It seems I underestimated you." The Redheads stood their ground, each one prepared to face whatever came next. Liam stepped forward, meeting the Lord of Shadows' gaze with calm defiance. "We will protect our home, no matter what you throw at us," he said firmly. The Lord of Shadows' eyes glinted with amusement. "Is that so? Then let's see how long your courage lasts." With a wave of his hand, he summoned a whirlwind of dark magic that tore through the clearing, shattering the protective barrier. The Redheads staggered, momentarily blinded by the darkness. But they recovered quickly, their determination undimmed. Each Redhead focused on their strengths, drawing on their training and their bond with each other. Finn and Kellen formed a defensive line, blocking the Lord of Shadows' attacks with their staffs. Tara, Niamh, and Aisling combined their magic to create a barrier of light, pushing back the darkness inch by inch. Roycin, clutching the remains of the elixir of protection, murmured a prayer under her breath, pouring every ounce of her energy into the potion. Slowly, the tide began to turn. The Lord of Shadows' dark magic faltered against the combined strength of the Redheads, and his sneer twisted into a scowl. "You think you can defeat me?" he hissed, his voice laced with fury. Liam stepped forward, his voice calm but filled with conviction. "We don't need to defeat you. We just need to protect our home. And as long as we stand together, you will never succeed." The Lord of Shadows glared at them, his golden eyes blazing with anger. But he knew he was beaten, at least for now. With a final snarl, he vanished into the mist, leaving the Redheads standing victorious in the clearing. They were exhausted, their faces streaked with dirt and sweat, but their spirits were unbroken. As dawn broke over the whispering woods, the Redheads looked at each other, their hearts swelling with pride and relief. They had faced the Lord of Shadows' challenge and emerged stronger for it. And though they knew the battle was far from over, they were ready for whatever lay ahead.